trekked eastward toward the sun, following herds of long-tusked prehistoric elephants and giant deer, in search of game to hunt and food to forage. It was cold and snowy, and there were terrible storms. Food was hard to find. But once the German had pots, they boiled vegetables, acorns, and horse chestnuts, and carried supplies with them when they travelled. They cooked soft food for babies and toothless old people who could live longer and pass on their lore. Around 11,000 BCE, the glaciers melted. The ice retreated, and the seas rose and severed the land bridges, creating the islands that we know as Japan. The weather became balmy, warm and humid, with plenty of rainfall. These hunter-gatherers found themselves in a land of plenty, a kind of paradise. There were nuts, berries, roots, fruits, seeds and mushrooms to be gathered in the lush deciduous forests that covered the hillsides, and wild boar, deer, mountain goats and bears to be hunted, trapped, or chased down with dogs. Higher up the slopes, the hunters found obsidian, hard volcanic rock that they chipped into arrowheads and spear tips. Where the land bridges had been were shallow seas teeming with tuna, porpoises, seals and salmon. They dined on shellfish, crabs and seaweed, leaving enormous refuse heaps of shells. The land was so fertile that they didn't need to roam far in search of food. Most hunter-gatherers didn't make pottery, which would have been heavy to lug around. But these settled down and over time developed a rich and sophisticated culture. Little by little, the population grew from a few thousand to 250,000. 10,000 years after that first pot, around 4000 BCE, they began to form communities. They built houses with thick thatch that stretched to the ground, and a pit in the centre where a fire crackled, sending smoke billowing out of a circular opening in the roof. Besides foraging, people cultivated soybeans, gourds, hemp, aduki beans, and peaches. A particularly large community grew up at Sinai Maruyama in the north of Honshu Island. By 2900 BCE, there were 700 houses, some with stone floors, with thatched storage houses on stilts for food, and watchtowers on massive wooden pillars. There were other settlements too, mainly in Honshu and Kyushu. At the centre of many were oval longhouses, great halls where people from all around met for rituals and festivals. Some became potters, making magnificent pots with exuberant wave and flame designs leaping around the flared rims, which they used for cooking and serving. Every pot was different, and each was a work of art. This was a society that appreciated artistry. Some of the artisans made dogu, earth spirits, beautifully crafted figurines, some with bulging eyes and elaborate hairstyles, or pregnant like earth mothers, others in the shape of dogs or pigs. The dogu help us imagine the Jomon and their lives. We picture them in their longhouses, their faces and bodies tattooed, in garments woven from mulberry bark or hemp, wearing earrings, necklaces, and pendants. Many are missing teeth, deliberately knocked out as a rite of passage. They dance and sing to the music of drums, zithers, and deer antler whistles, and gather while shamans who have consumed mushrooms or alcohol enter trances and mediate with the spirits to request success in their fishing and hunting trips, and protection against eruptions, typhoons, floods, and earthquakes. Sinai Maruyama was a major trading centre. People trekked from village to village, or shuttled in dugout canoes across the straits to Azo, now Hokkaido, or even to mainland Asia. They traded obsidian arrowheads, lacquerware, pottery, jade, amber, salt, shell bracelets, bone and antler needles, fish hooks, and toggle head harpoons. But then, around 1500 BCE, the climate started to cool. Nevertheless, when farmers began